The 7 levels of TV series explained.
Level 1. Trash.
The absolute landfill of garbage television. If you're looking for a hassle-free way to reduce your brain cells, then look no further, my friends. Shows such as The Witcher Blood Origin, La Brea, and All's Fair define this level. I pirated all these trash-ass TV shows and I felt robbed. But guy, who's forcing you to watch all these trash shows? Well, part 1 of the 7 levels of TV shows did so well, I was like, fine, I'll make another. And now I regret it as I'm balls deep in She-Hulk Attorney at Law. The CGI is bad. None of the characters are relatable to any human being that walks this planet. The writing is bad, especially the whole court segments. The worst part was how they slandered Bruce Banner. I have no idea why there is a pattern in recent cinema with belittling legends to elevate poorly written characters. And worst of all, the jokes weren't funny. Okay, comedy is subjective and maybe I'm not a funny guy, but after some self-reflection I was like, nah, I'm pretty funny, these jokes are just trash. Speaking of trash, have any of you watched The Witcher Blood Origin? You have? Oh, I'm sorry for your loss. I may be one of the biggest Witcher fans out there. I've played all the games and the DLCs and I've read 3 of the books and I've adored every moment. But the original show was a massive stain on this experience and Blood Origin was the nail in the coffin. I have no problem with deviating from source material if you respect the foundations, but in this case it doesn't. For example, Witchers were made to protect human settlers from monsters, so why did this show make the first Witchers elves? And why don't elves have Witcher allies? On top of this, the pacing was terrible, evident from introducing everything and everyone all at once and holy exposition. Like, your viewers aren't 10-year-olds, the lack of writing talent is so obvious with the way they use verbal exposition. Throw in crude childish language for the sake of it, zero character development and plot convenience like this person happens to bump into the exact person to drive the plot forward and you get this show. And just like every other show on this level, they fail on all accounts of what it truly means to make a TV show. Good Times Black Again is nothing but black stereotypes. All's Fair was terrible, it's Kim Kardashian making a show for her and her friends. Blockbuster was trash and a clear copy attempt of Superstore. From world building to writing to delivery to acting, these shows do not come close to succeeding at any of those factors.
Level 2. Bad.
Take a piece of crap and sprinkle those gold flakes like Salt Bae does and a little shoe polish and you get shows on this level. By this I mean these shows are objectively bad, but there is an attempt, it's just that the foundations are terrible. These failures can include cliches and tropes, bland character development and poor writing. This level also suffers from behind the scenes corporate ulterior motives, aka greed. For example, the ulterior motive for making Joey was to maintain the massive viewership and advertising revenue NBC soaked in from Friends following its finale. CSI Miami was created because OG CSI made tons of money, so simply changing the location to Miami would surely soak in more revenue, right? Paradise PD was created to be a clone of Brickleberry because the creators didn't have the rights to it anymore but wanted to continue milking it anyway. And Iron Fist was rushed to meet the timeline they set for Defenders. And Under the Dome extended the story past the books because milking Stephen King makes a lot of money. When Under the Dome was stretched beyond the books, the plot became convoluted and characters behaved unlike their development trajectory, and worst of all, the mystery dragged on to the point no one cared anymore. Even Stephen King himself criticised how CBS was more interested in a show that would draw in ads and fill a spot on their schedule than caring about a programme that would respect his novel. Finally, Iron Fist. For a show about fighting, the fight scenes are embarrassingly bad, and I'm taking into account the high bar I've been set growing up watching Jackie Chan and Donnie Yen movies. I think I got motion sickness from a particular fight scene that had someone with Parkinson's film it. Outside the action, the story itself isn't engaging at all, especially for a viewer like me who had just finished Daredevil and Jessica Jones Season 1. What separates Level 2 from Level 1 is that these shows had something going for them initially, but they squandered every advantage through poor execution, terrible decision making, and fundamental misunderstanding of what makes their concepts work.
Level 3. Mid.
Welcome to the peak of a standard normal distribution where the y-axis is volume, not quality. This is where the majority of shows churned out by the industry end up. This is also where dreams die. The disappointment level, if you will. Oh, you're excited about an Obi-Wan Kenobi TV show? Take this. Oh, you can't wait for a Halo live adaptation show? Take this. It's sad that these shows had all the ingredients for success. Big budgets, beloved IP, talented actors, but somehow produce something that makes you go, damn, that's crazy. Anyway, shows like Halo and Obi-Wan Kenobi that I just mentioned, along with You and The Falcon and The Winter Soldier, embody this level. Let's dissect Halo, one of Xbox's biggest franchises since forever. Over 15 games, billions in revenue, and a fan base that would give their life for Master Chief. Okay Paramount, you got this. Whatever you do not make Master Chief take off his helmet in the first 50 minutes and 32 seconds. Okay, never mind. The helmet controversy is actually the least of the show's problems. The writing is shocking, like they copy and pasted Tony Stark's personality onto Master Chief. The only reason I'm not putting this in bad is because I'm a nerd and I thought the fighting was cool and the armor was cool. Okay, I admit it. Futuristic gun go pew pew and energy sword go meow. Another mid TV show is Disenchantment. Matt Groening had a chance to make a fantasy-esque Futurama, but it was filled with unlikable characters and stale humour. On this level, we also have Obi-Wan Kenobi, which was incredibly underwhelming. Remember, this level is mid, not bad. I actually somewhat enjoyed Obi-Wan Kenobi. Sadly, I just felt it could have been so much better. Reva is poorly written as well, like, what do you mean you want to take revenge against Darth Vader by hunting down Jedi and being evil to everyone around you? Like, alright buddy, I'm sure vegans take revenge on the meat industry by gobbling copious amounts of Big Macs and fried chicken. And don't even get me started on Princess Leia outrunning bounty hunters. I know I'm being extra nitpicky with this one, but when it comes to Star Wars, it's my passion and it has a special place in my heart. What separates level 3 from level 2 is that these shows aren't technical disasters. The production values are high and the actors are good at times, but competence without vision and successful risk taking just gets you plain adequate television. And just like the rest of this level, they are bang average and don't bring anything special to the table, unlike
Level 4. Good.
Now we're getting into enjoyable entertainment. Some of these might even be your favourite shows and no one will judge you for it unless you're on Reddit. Level 4 shows are well produced, well acted and genuinely entertaining television that keeps you watching, but they've got flaws. Maybe they peaked early and couldn't maintain it. Maybe they made one creative decision that derailed everything. Maybe the lead actress became the Duchess of Sussex and moved to America and wrote a book about hating the limelight while doing interviews on said book. Shows like Suits, WandaVision, Money Heist, and It, Welcome to Derry are good. Let's start with Suits. There's only so much you can do with the formula where bad guys waiting in conference room reveals evil plan, Harvey walks out, later walks in, slams paper on table and bad guy reads it all in a second and his plan is foiled and repeat. Or Harvey saying something like, if you've got your back against the wall, you goddamn break the wall. I know I'm slandering it hard, but believe me, I actually enjoyed this show, or the first few seasons at least. It had interesting cases, big stakes, and good character development. After that it goes downhill and we all know how it ended when Mike and Rachel left. For example, by season 7 the firm had already survived the merger, an FCC investigation, Mike's legitimacy being exposed, and countless lawsuits including a $100 million class action suit. In the show's final years, it became impossible for the writers to conjure a believable threat without either copy and pasting old storylines or crossing into ludicrous territory. Other shows that have high peaks that made them fan favourites but overstayed their welcome and crashed and burned are The 100, which should have ended around season 4, and Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which got cancelled and then picked up by another network and it was never the same again. Unlike mid TV shows, level 4 shows like It, Welcome to Derry Story, Money Heist, and WandaVision actually delivered quality content despite it only being a few select episodes. They just couldn't sustain it or overstayed their welcome. Their peaks weren't monumental or genre defining, but that's fine, it doesn't need to be in order to be a good show, which this level absolutely is. But when you begin to sustain excellence across episodes and seasons and challenge the status quo, you get
Level 5. Great.
These are shows that achieve excellence at their peak. Compelling performances, beautiful storytelling, and moments that become cultural monuments. Cinematography elevates scenes beyond dialogue, shots that linger, and music that complements. They create characters you genuinely care about because the development feels organic and true. Nothing defines this level more than The Walking Dead, one of my all-time favourite shows. The first season was a masterpiece and I still remember watching it for the first time when I was 14. And it was followed on by some of the greatest post-apocalyptic drama pieces to grace our screens. Many of you may share the same feelings that I have, so it pains me to admit that it's running on fumes by the end. Over time it became a chore to watch, especially when the stakes are repeated. The exact same principle for overstaying its welcome can also be applied to Orange is the New Black. This is another show I greatly adored during the first few seasons with great acting, writing and storyline, but by the end it became almost unwatchable. This is because it became detached from what made it good in the first place. The writing felt reformatted and replacing characters we loved with ones that weren't fleshed out so we didn't care about them was the nail in the coffin. To wrap up this level, other great shows include Family Guy, Landman and House of Dragon. The latter is a great show which gets an obscene amount of hate online because it has to live up to arguably the greatest piece of art since the Mona Lisa. But to speak on it objectively, it does lack the in-depth world building and sophisticated writing that Game of Thrones had, which can be explained by the fact it's working on sparser source material. While this isn't an excuse, and despite this, it does bring great cinematic set pieces and a few elite episodes that live up to its predecessor's namesake and at times intricate writing that gave flashes of prime Game of Thrones. At this point, I am certain it must be an impossible task to create an amazing Game of Thrones spin-off, right? Do not be mistaken, these shows are great and I cannot recommend them enough. They have S-tier episodes within them, but they lack that genre-defining element coupled with consistency to push it to the next tier. Also, I would like to thank you all for 10,000 subscribers. This time last year we were at 400, so I truly mean it when I say you've given me a reason to continue making videos when I come home from my 9 to 5. I also don't know what B-roll to show, so here's some cute doggos. Oh, and please subscribe if you haven't, thank you.
Level 6. Amazing.
This is the level of cultural influence. Cinema that achieves mastery in nearly every dimension of filmmaking, from writing and acting to post-production and music. These shows take risks and don't follow a safe formula, and the creators have complete command. Visual language replaces exposition and silence carries as much weight as dialogue. They operate on multiple levels simultaneously, surface narrative for casual viewers, thematic depth for those paying attention, and subtext rich enough to justify academic analysis. You, as the audience, will have to sit with ambiguity, wrestle with complexity, and do the intellectual work required to extract full meaning. Let me use BoJack Horseman as an example. It challenges simplistic views of morality. Yes, good people make terrible choices, but when you see yourself in BoJack, his depression, his trauma, his self-awareness, the natural impulse is to feel less alone in your failures, maybe even less responsible for them. The point is not to feel less crappy about yourself, but to recognize that depression, trauma, and self-awareness are not get out of jail free cards for causing harm. If we see ourselves in BoJack, we must take accountability and change, not use our pain as justification. Understanding why you hurt people doesn't undo the hurt. Pain explains behavior, but it doesn't excuse it. Moving away to less depressing topics, another amazing show is A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, and boy did you let me know in the comments of my part 1 video that I should watch it, and wow. This show is so beautifully crafted that it doesn't need grand spectacles, and I'll make the statement right here. I think the battle sequence was one of the best battle sequences I've ever seen. And I have seen a lot of TV shows. It was so gritty and I felt like I was the one in the mud. And the story that led up to that very moment was so beautifully crafted. And the actual story itself, it's intimate, character focused and beautifully shot. It pulls off the impossible. How can you make a show after Game of Thrones but without all the huge battles and politics and dragons? But it does. And depending on the next season, it might even transcend to the next level. Other shows that etched themselves in history on this list include Mad Men, Invincible, Dexter, and Andor. From a critical standpoint, Andor might be one of the best Star Wars media put on screen, full stop. It's in its own tier given all the bureaucracy with Disney, and it's a miracle it exists. It's intellectually compelling, thematically unapologetic, and it comes at a critical point in world history considering political extremism in our own real world. The latter explores what it takes to radicalize everyday people into throwing everything they know and love and becoming an insurrectionist. I understand why some people might not like it. It isn't full of action scenes and cameos, and it moves at a slower pace in the beginning. But if you appreciate intelligent writing, deep characters and sophisticated storytelling, then look no further. The only reason it's in this level is because it was written to be 5 seasons but was forced to be crammed into 2, and they still managed to pull off a masterpiece. Imagine a world where we aren't limited by corporate greed and that creative geniuses are given the canvas they need to paint and express the art they possess inside them. We would be spoilt with greatness left, right and centre. Yet in all this darkness we are still blessed to bear witness to only a handful of shows that achieve perfection. I present to you
Level 7. GOAT.
We are blessed to be graced with such art. That is not an exaggeration. In a world filled with corporate greed, timelines, patents and copyrights, cancellations, ulterior motives, off-screen drama, it makes you wonder how much humanity has been robbed of art. I mentioned in the last level, we as the human race were robbed of 3 seasons of Andor. We as the human race were robbed of a proper Game of Thrones ending because Disney came knocking to D&D with Star Wars and a sack of cash. But in the midst of this darkness are diamonds, unscathed of any flaws, untouched by any greed and unyielding to any ineptitude. Damn, I could really be a poet. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the peak starting with Band of Brothers. Spearheaded by a cast that was unknown back then, the actors were put in contact with real veterans they were playing. If the actors said that the veterans disapproved or disagreed with something in the script, it would have had to be changed. Many of the actors frequently got themselves taken out of certain scenes after the respective veterans said that they weren't there for the event in question. If it was made today, it would be Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Gal Gadot landing in Normandy, and the script would be something like, "It's time to unleash the Band of Brothers." Joking aside, the production quality is insane, but what elevates it beyond technical excellence is that it doesn't sanitize war. There are scenes that show Americans doing immoral things, which is very rare for an American war story. Band of Brothers is perfect because it honors the men it portrays without glorifying war itself. The next diamond on this list is Netflix's live adaptation of Avatar: The Last Airbender. This show is peak, and the only better Avatar I can think of was the movie with Dev Patel producing an Oscar-worthy performance. I'm kidding. This Avatar: The Last Airbender is peak. Let me be clear, Avatar is not good for a kids show, it's not impressive for animation, it's legitimately one of the best television series ever made. The show had a planned ending from the start with a perfect finale, something shows struggle to do, even amazing ones. The character development is unmatched, with Zuko's redemption arc being one of the most complex stories told. The show also tackles serious themes without talking down to its audience. The next flawless diamond in our lineup is Better Call Saul. Arguably in a league of its own, the brilliance is in the in-depth character analysis and intricacies of Jimmy's relationship with Chuck, Kim and himself. His moral ambiguity is portrayed perfectly, and Vince Gilligan did a fantastic job fleshing out Mike's and Nacho's stories, especially given that we know how they end up in Breaking Bad. Even minor characters like Howard are compelling and well written. Another level 7 show is Succession, which is an exceptionally well written, well acted and well produced show that offers a view into a secluded, out of reach elite family. The show has perfectly crafted the intricacies of them playing political and business high stakes games. all the while they're dealing with and inflicting complex emotional trauma to themselves and others. We also have Arcane on this list, a show where you can feel the love and passion in every scene, from the visuals and characters to story, music and voice acting. There are so many details you only pick up watching it a second time. Next on the GOAT list is Dark. The narrative is light years beyond so many shows considered great in Hollywood. The writing, cinematography, camera angles, acting, soundtrack, the plot, everything is excellent, and shows should use it as the textbook example when writing a mystery. And finally, to round up this exclusive list is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. This show resurrects allegory as an art form in an era where most shows have forgotten it exists. What makes Brotherhood genius is how it uses fantastical elements to explore actual scientific and philosophical truth while telling a story on multiple narrative levels. The entire show is built on the principle that you cannot create something from nothing, that every gain requires sacrifice. It asks the deepest questions: what defines humanity? What's the cost of ambition? Is there meaning in suffering? There's realistic growth and side characters are fleshed out organically. Where many anime series would leave you feeling burnt out by the end, this does the complete opposite, and the final episodes to close it out are masterfully weaved together. The very few pieces of art on this level will forever remain immortal and just prove that behind all the greed and strife that exists in this world, it is still possible to paint perfection. And if your favourite show didn't get mentioned, it's probably in this video here, part 1 of the 7 levels of TV shows. Check it out. And don't forget to subscribe to get this channel to 20,000 subscribers. Thanks for watching.